In this episode, we head off into the far reaches of space in search of forgotten 80s sci-fi toys. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode, we will be taking a look at some forgotten sci-fi toys from the 1980s. Now, sci-fi is such an ambiguous term, especially in the 80s, because they loved to mix different genres into the sci-fi stew. So you had a little bit of fantasy sprinkled in, monsters sprinkled in, girls' toys, everything. Sci-fi was this huge embracing genre that invited other genres to participate. So just to nail things down a little bit more, I went with sci-fi being primarily a space-oriented toy line. So toy lines like Masters of the Universe definitely have sci-fi influences, but in my categorizing of it, I have put that firmly within fantasy. So these toys don't include robots either. Robots are a whole different category in my book. And I mean that literally, the book that I work on tirelessly for months, which is what holds up me doing videos weekly. And we'll get back to that weekly thing shortly. I've kind of put the 90s one that I'm working on the back burner for right now. But anyway, enough of all that. Let's take a look at forgotten 80s sci-fi toys. And let's start with, of course, number 1. Our first forgotten sci-fi toy comes from Remco in the year 1982. And these are Extraterrestrials. And for some reason, I feel like I'm just not pronouncing that correctly. But anyway, the magic thing about the year 1982, when you see these cute alien critters, was it was the year that E.T. was released. So, was it all a coincidence? Maybe. But these little critters, I think, are darn cute. Even more cute than E.T. Now, there were 4 in total, but 3 of them seem to be very prevalent. I have found 3 of them for sale out there on the open market and in a lot of collectors' hands. But the 4th one, this red one, that I think is really extraordinary for an extraterrestrial, is the best of the bunch. But that's just me. Now, the main feature of these little aliens was underneath them they had a plug. Let the jokes write themselves. But when you removed this plug, you got a cipher for an alien language that you and your friends could use to pass notes and other important things encrypted in an alien language. And I think that's, not a revolutionary play feature to have, but it's pretty cool. And it harkens back to like a simpler time when kids had decoder rings and, like Christmas Story kind of doohickeys to send secret messages back and forth.
Ovaltine? A crummy commercial? Son of a bitch.
Now, the one question that I have about this, that these were produced by Remco, but Mel Appel's name appears all over the packaging, kind of like a Mel Appel production produced by Remco. I don't know where that join up of the two toy companies came from or why, and I couldn't really find a backstory out there. So I'm really curious about that. And speaking of the packaging, the whole ripped up newspaper kind of vibe of it, of they have arrived, kind of, harkens again back to a simpler time, like the 50s sci-fi craze. So anyway, these definitely are out there on the open market. You can find them open or in package. And I mean, for these, I think they're 4.5-inch rubberized cute aliens, the prices, I mean, could be fair. I mean, I'm sure this wasn't something that was very prevalent out there on the shelves. I mean, I definitely never saw them in the wild. But anyway, let's get to number 2. Number 2 on the list comes from an unknown year. I'm assuming sometime within the decade of the 80s, because of what they look like, and similar toy lines that were also produced by the company Solid Co. So these are Space Patrol. There were 4 figures in total, and they had such original names as Blue Soldier 1, Blue Soldier 2, Gray Soldier 1, and Gray Soldier 2. Now, Solid Co. also made the MX Robot figures that featured the same battle armor setup that these guys have. So they could get decked out in these awesome exosuits and patrol the space. Now, these are pretty bare bones when it comes to creativity, which is something Solid Co. is known for, but I would never dare say that these are a knockoff or a ripoff or any of those words that get thrown around way too much nowadays. It's pretty much, if anything isn't a Masters of the Universe or a G.I. Joe or a Thundercat or a Silverhawk or the like, it gets hit with the tag of being a knockoff. And yeah, I don't play that. I mean, just because something is similar doesn't mean it's a knockoff. Now, when you get to the 1990s, there were knockoffs abound. I mean, as soon as Power Rangers hit the waves, there were so many knockoffs of them, it's even hard to count. But anyway, let me jump off my soapbox. Sorry about that. And let's talk about Space Patrol again. Not Power Rangers. But anyway, these actually go for a pretty penny out on the open market. There's definitely a collector's need and want for them. And I think that's awesome. I mean, as uncreative as they are, they would have been hella fun as a kid to play with. I mean, anything with snap-on armor, weapons, any of that stuff is super cool. And the fact that they have brays, which was a thing in the 80s, and yeah, that they definitely look like space age soldiers. And that's super awesome. I mean, soldiers, berets, space, this was a marriage that needed to happen. But anyway, out there on the secondary market, yeah, they definitely have a fan following, and I'm all for it. Our third forgotten sci-fi toy is another from an unspecified year within the 80s. And this was made by Best Toys. These are Galaxy Warrior. Just drop the S, because when you add the S, yeah, you are running into a plethora of other toy lines. Galaxy and Warrior were 2 words that seem to end up on toy packaging a lot in the 80s. And I can't blame them. They're 2 great words. They convey an awesome message of galaxies and warrior. But anyway, this was a toy line that was very hard to track down. One of the reasons being the name, because there were so many other toy lines with this name or with an S at the end that I was running into left and right. But this one, on the other hand, I have only found a handful of images and they're really not that great. But anyway, these figures are somewhere in between Star Wars and G.I. Joe as far as posability. And they had backpacks that had a peg system like G.I. Joe. Now, there were only a handful of original figures, and all the others were, and they're all named their color, but they just came with a different weapon and backpack, even though they were the exact same figure. So they kind of get categorized as different figures because of that. Now, I was only able to track down one that was ever for sale, and it only sold for $7. So, if you're lucky enough to come across any under $10, I'd say jump at it, because these are neat little additions to any Playtime universe. Our fourth sci-fi toy is another one that suffers from characters named after the colors of their outfit. Unfortunately, with this toy line, each figure seemed to be vastly different and have some awesome accessories, and they definitely were all designed and modeled different. So I don't know why they really, kind of skimped out on the naming process and just went with colors. It's kind of sad, actually. Anyway, this is Laser Force, one word, produced by Sun Gold in 1985. Again, these are very akin to Masters of the Universe figures, except more articulated. And they definitely came with a ton of awesome accessories, which includes space armor that they can get geared up in. Now, while I was doing my research online, I found it very hard to actually nail down how many of these figures there actually were, because you had a handful of different dudes with different armor, and you had them in different packaging. You had, your carded blister packs, and you had your boxed versions. Both of them featured pretty solid artwork, but we're dealing with Sun Gold here. They are notorious for making heavily inspired toy lines. Again, I hate using the word knockoff, but they've really made a career out of being inspired by others. And there's nothing wrong with that, because something like this was wholly different than the source material in which they were inspired by. If you want to hunt these down, or if you're lucky enough to stumble upon them out in the wild, you could be spending anywhere from $20 to $220 for these figures. There definitely seems to be a collector's market for them, and rightfully so. They're a very cool figure. And like I said about myself, I am a sucker for anything that has snap-on accessories. I'm always a fan of everything has a place and a home on the figure. And these armored action figures seem to deliver that. So I would definitely be game for hunting these down, but those prices definitely have driven me away from the hunt. Our final forgotten 80s sci-fi toy comes from Diamond Toy Makers, and they were released in 1986. This is Sheriff Solar, and if I hear anyone say that this is a knockoff of any sort, I'm going to knock you off. No, I take that back. I would never do that. But anyway, these are wholly original, because if you want to compare them to Bravestar, Bravestar actually came out a year later. So the whole Space Sheriff thing, maybe they were inspired by Galaxy Rangers, But yeah, 87 was Brave Star. These, 86. So I give them major props for that. Anyway, there were 6 figures in total, and they are exquisite. They are awesome. They are some of the neatest designs that I could have dreamed up for a space western. Now, the good guys. I believe there were 3 of them. You had Brand, Sheriff Solar, and Soaring Eagle. And Brand and Sheriff Solar seem to be pretty par for the course. Cowboys with cybernetics. Awesome. Soaring Eagle, on the other hand, has wings and a whole eagle motif. Again, awesome. Now, the bad guys are definitely where this toy line shines. You got this bird dude named Buzzard. I mean, that fits an Old West theme, buzzards, and he's got a really awesomely sculpted head. Now, the next villain is by far my favorite of the line, and it just so happens that he's named after one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, or vice versa. This is Cactus Jack, and this is a cactus dude. Now, from what I can find, he had snap-on armaments that would go over his arms that look like big, like cactus boxing gloves. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, just you imagine getting socked by, a fistful of thorns. Pretty cool. And the last baddie that I'm just assuming is the ringleader of this villainous crew is Tombstone. Now, Tombstone has the whole Diablo bull kind of motif. He's flaming red bull guy, horns and all. And he's got a little hat to boot. I mean, I don't know if he's scary or adorable. I mean, I'm still weighing those options. But anyway, this is definitely a toy line that is in collectors' hands, but is rarely seen out on the open market. I mean, I tried to track down any of them for sale, and I could only find one, and it was going for $50, which seems to be about the going rate for something like this as we look at this list of sci-fi toys. Now, like I said, they are definitely in the collector's hands. I've seen so many people posting on Instagram their collections of Sheriff Solar when they are lucky enough to purchase a Sheriff Solar figure. I mean, they are proud of it, and rightfully so. I mean, if I had these toys, I would be so super proud of them as well, and I would show them off any chance I would get. But, again, it seems like this is definitely, you have to be at the right place at the right time and know the right people in order to stumble upon these awesome action figures. So anyway, let's wrap this up. Okay, folks, that was a look at 5 forgotten 80s sci-fi toys. And yeah, a little bit of everything when it comes to the world of sci-fi. But the one thing they have in common is space. Alien worlds. Being aliens. I mean, sci-fi is such a rich genre. And like I said earlier, when you start sprinkling in other categories and genres into it, it's just a beautiful marriage of just awesomeness. I apologize for using that word so often, but looking at these toys, that's the only word that comes to mind. I mean, I'm in awe of these toys, and I love toys, so forgive me for my lack of vocabulary when it comes to describing them, but I'm going with how they make me feel. And like I said, I'm in awe of them. So, with that being said, awesome seems like the most appropriate word. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them, and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this, or any of the episodes YouTube is recommending under here, please hit subscribe and hit that little bell icon and you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thank you so much for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.